Nobody expected a kid barely out of high school to divide the football world so fast. A year ago, most people talked about him like he was the future of the sport. The quiet one, the prodigy with ice in his veins, the kid who didn't need captions or podcast hot takes because his feet did the talking. But fast forward to today, and somehow, within a handful of matches and some questionable online decisions, he's being spoken about like the sport's newest antagonist. What's striking is how fast public favor shifted, almost overnight. It's a reminder that in modern football, perception changes quicker than form. So, how does someone go from admired to despised? Not from a scandal, not from a legal case, not from a career-ending injury, but simply from words, timing, pride, and what happens when hype meets expectation. We're talking about a shift that didn't happen on a training pitch or during an off-season, but in real time, under the brightest lights, and the world watched every step unfold with amplified intensity. Let's wind it back. When he first broke through, his attitude impressed people, confident but measured. Everyone loved the way he handled pressure. During the Euros, for example, when a French midfielder tried to provoke him with a comment about not being ready, he posted one phrase on Instagram, "Move in silence," then did exactly that. He scored a beauty right in front of the guy on the pitch. Only after winning did he respond, using a small clapback earned through football. That version of him was seen as calculated and mature. He looked like a player beyond his years, and that composure was a big reason many believed he'd become a leader in the future. At that time, even older professionals were praising him for letting performance guide narrative. Fans outside his own club admired it. Even rival supporters respected the restraint. He seemed like the perfect example of talent backed by self-control. His rise felt refreshing in a time when most young athletes respond instantly online. And for a brief moment, supporters believed he was immune to the chaos of social media. That was the old perception. As he got better, so did the noise around him. Media outlets hyped him beyond comprehension. Debate started. Best teenager in the world? Generational? Ballon d'Or contender? Some fans hated the speed at which he was crowned. Others thought he deserved every compliment. The attention reached a point where even neutral fan bases started to take notice. Narratives started forming faster than he could play the next match. Then came the tension from within his own club's supporter base. Another big-name player, older, Brazilian, established, had been the statistical standout of the Champions League run. But this teenager was being pushed harder by press and commentary. Some Brazilian fans resented that. Some Barca fans too. Stories began surfacing of possible dressing room friction. Likes on Instagram appeared from teammates on posts hinting at who really carried the team. That kind of social media activity, it created an invisible rivalry between players without anyone officially acknowledging it. And once that started, every action was scrutinized through that lens. That was the first crack. Then came the Nations League final for Spain. Before the match, he posted, "Born for nights like these." People saw it as healthy confidence. Then he played one of his worst matches of the season. No goals, no assists, subbed before the shootout. Completely shut down by Mendes. While his teammates stayed on the field after losing to show respect, he walked straight off. Clips went viral. Commentary shifted. Suddenly, the behavior that was once viewed as tightly controlled looked emotionally reactive. Fans started questioning if he'd skipped the learning phase every young star needs. A lack of sportsmanship, can't handle losing, too much too soon. Some defended him, saying he's just young and hurting from the defeat. Others saw the start of arrogance. In a different era, this moment probably disappears into history unnoticed. But today, with phones recording every expression, every misstep lives forever online. After that, critics outnumbered defenders. Normally, before big derbies, players stay safe. They speak with caution in media interviews, especially the younger ones. But this time, on a podcast days before a game that historically defined seasons, he dropped a comment interpreted as, "They cheat and complain." Fans of his club laughed, Madrid supporters didn't. The words were blunt, and at his age, few expected him to take that risk publicly. Within hours, timelines were ablaze, clips replayed, quotes highlighted, side-by-side edits with past controversies, allegations, corruption debates. He woke up hatred beyond his club's rivals, wanted by rival supporters to fail. That online narrative quickly shifted from rivalry banter to full-scale hostility. He had given people a reason. People expected a statement performance, but instead what followed didn't help him. The game was intense, physical, emotionally charged. His team played well. He didn't. Barely touched the ball, created nothing. And when the final whistle blew, a national teammate, his captain in the international squad, walked straight up to him and said, "Talk now." That moment spread faster than the goals from the match. It crystallized the consequences of speaking before delivering. Clips spread faster than goals. Memes declared he didn't even play. Comment sections filled with "he needs humbling." For someone who built his image on letting football speak, not speaking at all would have sounded better. That single moment turned what was a risky comment into a permanent mark on his growing reputation. Off the pitch, scrutiny started ramping up. Lifestyle, parties during his birthday viewed as signs of ego, comments with religious communities calling it excessive, fans questioning whether he had lost touch with humility. It became less about performance and more about image management for a while, and at the same time, his form dipped slightly. Not enough to be alarming, but enough for trolls to connect dots. Missed chances, quieter games in high-intensity matches, posts resurfacing of his pre-match captions before losses, against PSG in the Champions League, before El Clasico, before the Nations League final. His actions were being used as data points to push a narrative. Every time he hyped himself publicly, the result went the other way. Report claims emerged that Madrid players watched the podcast clip in their dressing room before stepping on the pitch. Some allegedly replayed it multiple times. A reported player comment went viral. "He doesn't respect the badge." Moments like that prove players don't just ignore outside noise, they internalize it and feed off it. During that same game, Vinicius Jr., who himself went from despised to celebrated in recent years, apparently jabbed back at him mid-match with "all you do is pass backwards." The teenager responded with, "I can't understand you." Then tension rose. Reports claim he signaled at opponents to take it outside. That would have been shrugged off if it came from a veteran, but from someone still proving himself, it amplified criticism further. From that point, perception shifted from cocky teen to someone who struggles with frustration. Fans started comparing him to those who played villain roles in football's history: Ronaldo's defiance, Neymar's flamboyance, Vinicius's provocations. But they often backed it with consistent extreme-level performance before speaking, and most of them didn't openly taunt their rivals before accomplishing much. The difference is timing. Those players earned the platform before using it. He did it early, and because of that, football audiences judged him against standards meant for players in their prime. Following intense criticism, he went dark online. No captions, no reactions, no emojis. That silence wasn't from confidence this time, it felt like retreat. He appeared to understand that sometimes disengagement is the best response. Even those who disliked his comments started noticing how brutal the backlash had become. His hunger to prove himself has never been in question, but his understanding of timing, perception, and leadership is still developing. He is still a teenager playing at the top table of an era dominated by social media. Everything is amplified, and forgiveness is rarer. Growing in that environment means mistakes happen publicly, not privately. People forget he was inches away from winning one of the highest individual honors. Many believe if he scored or assisted in that Nations League final, he would have lifted the trophy. Had that happened, the backlash today might not even exist. One more impactful moment and the online narrative could have been entirely different. That's how thin the margins are. One shot to the top corner, legacy. One mistimed quote, controversy. And that small difference often shapes how fans remember careers. At 18, most athletes are sheltered. He is at the forefront of football culture, in an age where clips are dissected like courtroom evidence. He didn't grow up in Messi or Ronaldo's era, where social media wasn't all-consuming. He's an elite-level footballer raised during highlight edits, camera phones, live reaction streams. Fans expected him to react like a seasoned veteran, even though he's still figuring out adulthood. He's exceptionally good, but every expression, every word, every facial reaction becomes a side story. It's performance plus narrative, and both are judged equally. If he learns from this, returns to quiet confidence, and lets his gameplay recover, this entire era might look like a footnote, a lesson learned too young. The redemption arc could easily rewrite today's narrative. If he keeps pushing buttons, keeps using quotes before matches, keeps entertaining the fire, then he will embrace the role most players avoid. And history remembers those who make people feel something, whether admiration or annoyance. Either way, people will watch. Because that's the paradox. The more he speaks, the more he dances, the more he irritates opponents, the more people tune in. Not to support him, but to see whether he delivers under pressure. Last year, Vinicius Jr. was dubbed the most hated player on the planet. Today, he's praised. Fans call him a showman, a diver, a clown, but he rose above the noise through performances. Proof that in football, the story can change with consistency. The teenager in question has the potential to do the same. He is still growing, still figuring out how to match confidence with professionalism, still learning that talent doesn't always translate into maturity. Fans may criticize now, but will respect him later if he proves himself repeatedly. He's not finished, far from it. Maybe he needed this, maybe football did too, because right now, whether planned or not, he has become the new center of conversation. And in this era, that's a power many seek. Whether he uses it wisely is the next story.